Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Vividh Bharat, the Open India quiz conducted under Parakh 2022 by the Quiz Club IIT Patna under the banner of Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat on the occasion of the 75th Independence Day. I'm your host Kirtan, and now let us begin with the quiz. First, I'll be explaining the rules. The quiz is open for all. There are 20 questions in the quiz. Each question carries 1 point, and there'll be no negatives. In case of multiple parts to the answer, the points will be divided equally. The questions 4, 8, 12, 16 and 20 are star marked. They'll be used to resolve ties. A camera icon on the top left indicates that an image follows the question slide. You have to type your answers in the G form only. Please refrain from writing your answers in the YouTube chat. You have to submit the G form within 90 seconds after the last question is closed. There'll be no rerun of questions. The timer will be shown. Any unfair means will lead to immediate disqualification. Let's begin with the questions. Question number 1. X is a Bangalore-based delivery startup founded in 2014. Towards the end of June 2021, X to its universe of mascots. The focus of these mascots was to be inclusive so that no one should feel left out. They were the first in India to introduce such mascots with a firm focus on hashtag variety makes us. All the mascots in their universe have their own unique personalities, and the newly introduced ones are proud of their identities. The tagline of X is basically the same as the tagline of another company which focuses on performance, speed, and victory, except they replace one of the words with X. ID X, and what's special about the new mascots? Moving on to the next question. Question number 2. Recently, speculations were rife about a ban on India by a certain international association due to the alleged tampering in the governing of X. This was feared to happen after the Supreme Court decided to cast out Y. Ironically, due to Y himself tampering with X by not holding elections after his term ended quite a while ago. This ban has been termed as disastrous by a famous icon of this field, as it could affect India's chances of contesting in an event which is slated to take place next year. India is slated to host an event in the upcoming months too, and the hosting rights of this event are in danger. Identify X and Y. Also, please note that the text that has been bolded provide major hints towards the answer. Moving on to the next question. Question number 3. While a number of area-dedicated structures can be found across the country, no such monument existed that was all-encompassing. The proposal to build one in the capital had been under deliberation since the early 60s at the apex level. However, it was approved recently, and a global competition to select a design was held shortly after. The structure of the monument has a distinct scheme of concentric circles that draws inspiration from Y. The outermost layer has rows of trees. Next layer features edged concentric walls. After sunset, lights illuminate the inscriptions. A gallery that depicts the important landmarks in the country's history forms the second layer. Identify the monument and what is Y. Moving on to the next question. Please note that this is a star marked question as well as there's an image in this question. Once while traveling, X felt unwell and hence alighted at the small city near the Maharashtra-Karnataka border. Here, he met a fakir who proclaimed that his last hope was praying at the nearby dargah. Following the fakir's words, X prayed at the dargah and afterwards sang for a couple of hours under a tamarind tree. X was soon cured of the disease. He decided to stay back and make the city his own. Later, he founded this gharana, which was named after his birthplace, a town in northern India. Name X and his birthplace. The image is shown in a larger on this slide. Moving on to the next question. One of the prominent figures in Hindi poetry, this poet, apart from his poems, was known for his eccentricities. Recalling her first meeting with the poet, Mahadevi Verma recalls that she laughed out loud because until then she had assumed the poet was a woman, given the name. The name and also his long hair had a story behind it. Born with a different name, he changed his name while in school as an homage to a character from the epic Ramayana. His long hair was inspired by the military leader X. He spent most of his childhood surrounded by scenic beauty of nature, which is reflected in his works and is often called the poet of nature. ID the poet and X. The image is shown enlarged on the next slide. Moving on to the next question. This country has a long history of domination by foreign conquerors and strife among internally warring sections and recently witnessed something similar. The newly established government has announced that the country will have a particular military unit named X. X has witnessed multiple wars and the lionization of one of the prominent rulers of this country. The military unit will be assigned to be posted at borders touching Pakistan. Knowing the governing entity's relationship with Pakistan, naming this unit X can be interpreted as a sign of animosity between India and the government. What is the name given to this military unit X? Again, note that the bold text is hints towards the answer. Moving on to the next question. In India, under the colonial rule, clothing style of men was influenced due to their interaction with European rulers. The traditional dress of women from Punjab didn't undergo many changes. At first glance, it may not seem like it, but the ensemble of salwar, kameez, and dupatta with time had some Western elements incorporated in them. The elements were inspired by the military influences on the dressing of women in Europe post World War One. The style remained popular in the state for a short duration after independence. The style has survived in Haryana and western UP. One can spot this trend even now as the older women continue to wear the style. What elements were added or what style? Moving on to the next question. The Fate franchise has really shot up in the past years and has several games, mangas, and anime series adapted based on it. Its characters come from a variety of backgrounds and mythologies of different regions. One of the characters, X, shown in the figure, is based on an Asur who is the very symbol of chaos and is a drought bringer. Hence, aptly is titled the arch enemy of Y. X was known to be hoarding rains and waters and had to be defeated by Y in order to release it. While fighting in the Fate universe, X also uses a modified form of a weapon which is primarily associated with Y and used by them to kill X, further symbolizing their enmity. Identify X and Y. Also, please note that this is a star mark question. The image is shown enlarged on the next slide. Moving on to the next question. Question number 9. This popular meatball substitute dish gets its name from the dynasty X of China, but ironically, the X kings never ate this dish. In fact, this dish, often sold as authentic Chinese, actually finds its origins in the Chinatown of Tangra area in Kolkata. Tangra is home to one of the largest East Asian Indian populations in India and is the home to almost all Indo-Chinese cuisine. The style of food here, known as Y, is well renowned all over the world. Name X and Y. Moving on to the next question. Question number 10. X is a weird and ubiquitous phrase that most of us have seen many a times and are familiar with. X has become very popular and has inspired blogs, videos, themed restaurants, as well as a full-blown food festival in Delhi. There are many theories to the origin of X, one being that it was originally intended to be used as an advertisement for a brand of soap. X was banned a few years ago by the Maharashtra government as they hoped to reduce a certain type of pollution Y that was caused by people after they read X. Identify X and Y. Again, I would like to mention that you can focus on the bold marked text for hints that point toward the answer. Moving on to the next question. Question number 11. The concept of top teams from each league clashing off came in the UEFA Champions Leagues came into cricket too after the IPL in the form of Champions League 2020. But before this, there existed a competition X, named after a famous Indian cricketer who was known for his superior fast bowling and was considered one of the best fast bowlers in the world during his active days and later went on to become the founder of a cricket board. The champion teams of two different tournaments played for the X Trophy. X was conducted only 3 times before being cancelled due to political reasons. In the last edition of X, conducted in 2008, Y scored 197 runs and was declared man of the match despite his team losing the match. This added one more feather to the young man's cap who had achieved fame just a few months back. Identify X and Y. Moving on to the next question. Question number 12. This is a star mark question. Dash is said to be a 500-year-old practice that is still practiced in some temples of South India. A few years back, it faced severe backlash from people, claiming that it promoted caste-based discrimination and symbolizes slavery. In this practice, devotees roll over plantation leaves with X on them. While some people find it demeaning, they also believe that application of X, followed by a bath in the nearby well, clears one of bad karma who rolls over and cures one's skin diseases and other ailments. Consequently, this practice was modified a little. X is then replaced with a more holy and untouched form of it, Y. While the rolling around might still seem demeaning, the unused form of the plantation leaves definitely makes it less caste discriminatory. So, what are X and Y? Again, focus on the bold text, and here X and Y are not proper nouns. You can just explain your answer. Moving on to the next question. Question number 13. Global carbon emissions are at a dangerous level. To create awareness about global warming and to provide clean, fresh air, a university has planted X on the campus. X, as compared to woody trees, grow very quickly and have a very high rate of metabolism. Thus, they perform photosynthesis more quickly than other trees. X are also useful in countering high level of carbon dioxide and maintaining gaseous balance in the atmosphere. A certain demographic of people have been benefited from this characteristic in the past year when faced in the face of shortage of the primary means. Identify X. Moving on to the next question. Black was a 2005 movie inspired from the life of Helen Keller, which was critically acclaimed. The movie was shot in a span of about 100 days, beginning in the first month of 2004. When they arrived at the filming location, they realized that X, which was essential to the movie's plot, was missing. Since they could not wait for X, they decided to create X from another easily available component Y that has a similar texture and is commonly used in day-to-day life. The next day, vast amounts of Y were obtained from the local bazaars and were converted to create an effect of X, and the scene was recorded. Interestingly, in countries where X is abundant, Y is used to oppose the impact of X on daily life. This effect was so convincing that the people and some city newspapers believed that X was real. Identify X and Y. Moving on to the next question. Question number 15. Every year, April arrives and the country gradually turns into a furnace. In such times, a fragrant shrub in its many forms, used in almost all Indian households, provides remedy from the scorching heats. Known for its cooling property, the shrub is also known for its water rendering capacity. Historical records show that the use of the shrub dates back to Akbar's regime. Akbar himself is said to have devised the concept of using the shrub in its woven form. However, during the British regime, this idea went high-tech and it has since been used as X. Apart from this, the grass also holds cultural significance in the country. Grown in wet and marshy regions of the Gangetic Plains, crafting divine figures and dolls with this grass forms an integral part of the women in the area, and it has even received the GI tag in 2007. Special postal covers were also released to honor the craft form. The postal cover has been shown in the image. Identify X and the craft form. This is the image in large form. Moving on to the next question. Please note that this question has been star marked. The Ahom kingdom was established by Sukafa, a Thai prince, who then appointed two original councillors to the kingdom, one being X. The name X then diffused into the Indian public, and you might know X as the common surname of these two personalities: a recent individual Olympic medalist, the other a literary maven who was regarded as one of Assam's guardian angels through his eminent journalism and a massive amount of accomplished literary work. He was the editor of Assam's Local right up to his death and was renowned for his sharp political writings. He was also the recipient of the Sahitya Akademi Award, which he returned in 2015 in protest against the lack of tolerance that was being created at the Indian society. Identify X. Moving on to the next question. India recently tested a version of X in a prestigious technical institute, and it made the entire country extremely proud. The framework is entirely built in India following the PM's Atmanirbhar scheme. However, this is not the case with all countries. Many developed countries and a lot of people are wary of it, and some straight up oppose it. Some of the reasons cited by them include radiation hazards and health issues. However, all of this is false news, and several predecessors of X have already been implemented and are being used everywhere right now. X is much better than its previous versions, but it can be easily blocked by walls and trees. Hence, a lot of infrastructure needs to be built in a relatively close range for it to be effective. What was being tested, or identify X? Moving on to the next question. Question number 18. Originating from a very popular, interactive entertainment medium in Japan, a non-profit organization devised a system to improve upon the literacy rates of the nation. The initiative was taken upon learning that a large proportion of the literate population was incapable of reading simple day-to-day text. The system exploits the easy accessibility and the presence of a huge audience on the platform. It combines more than one form of sensory perception for a faster progress in contrast to the conventional teaching methods. The method is very effective due to the obsession of the people to keep themselves up to date with every other fad in the showbiz. The constant repetition of specific lines enables the audience to associate and link various words. In recent times, the following system is used in a much broader sense, rather than the constrained medium it started with. The system has resulted in an increase of about 200% in the reading literacy of the rural and semi-urban societies. Identify the system introduced. You can also describe your answer. Moving on to the next question. Question number 19. Visiting the temple of X in Madhya Pradesh, you will find several shops outside selling flower garlands, sacred threads, and also quite surprisingly, why? X is an aspect of Shiva and is prominently worshipped by tantrics and does not accept traditional offerings. To cater to such needs, the government decided to open special shops that sell Y, even though it was banned to respect a big festival. This move by the government is known to have brought a lot of money to them. There is even a temple of X in a neighboring state, and it's even more surprising that Y is served here to the deity, although under strict regulations by the government. Y is given to the deity X on a plate, and it is still a mystery where the huge amounts of Y given to them disappears. However, the devotees have complete faith in X and believe that they consume all Y that is offered to them. Identify X and Y. You can identify X and Y in your answer. Moving on to the next question. This is the last question, and this is also a star mark question. Located between two important Buddhist sites, Vaishali and Kushinagar, stands this monument X. Lord Buddha, on his last journey, spent a memorable night at X. Here, he made some sensational announcements, which was later on recorded in the Buddhist Jatak. Here, he also said that in his previous births, he ruled as Chakravarti Raja. Buddha also asked his disciples, the Lichavis, who had followed him, to return to Vaishali after giving them an alms bowl, leading to the construction of X. The Chinese pilgrim Yun Shang had visited X as per his diary in the 7th century. Even though X is a popular tourist destination and India's tallest excavated dash, it is yet to be fully developed, and a large area of it remains under vegetation and neglect. The name X comes from the name of a spice that is of great importance in Hindu religion. They share a similar name, that is. Identify X and fill in the blank. I'd like to say that the blanks are not indicative. Okay. So you have to submit your G forms within the next 90 seconds. After submitting your G form, you'll receive a link to the answer discussion too. Okay, so that's time up for submitting the G form. Thank you everyone for attending the quiz. I hope you enjoyed the quiz. Stay tuned for the answer discussion soon. Also, the top 8 teams will be contacted regarding the finals. Thank you.